Hello all! In this video, we will watch the first two episodes of the anime, The Eminence in Shadow. Nishino Akane wakes up in the morning and takes a shower. After that, she gets prepared for school and a personal driver takes her to it. There, she is greeted by most students. However, she sees the one she despises, Kagenu. She greets him and he greets her back, but calls her Nishimura. She tells Kagenu that her name isn't Nishimura and Kagenu apologizes, stating he was pretty good at remembering named NPC, but lately haven't got much sleep, and calls her Nishitani. She gets annoyed and corrects him, revealing her actual name, but Kagenu again gets it wrong and calls her Nishimura as he leaves. Akane notes that she doesn't despise him for getting her name wrong, but for never looking at her, and even when his eyes are facing her direction, they seems to be looking at somewhere far off place. When Akane was in middle school, she had to take a break from show business due to a scandal. Since then, she has been hiding behind a mask. She plays the teacher's pet so that the teachers like her, and plays the popular girl so that students like her, and is very careful to make sure no one hates her. After school, she calls her driver, but he doesn't pick up as he was attacked by some men. As he didn't came to pick her up, Akane is forced to head home walking, which is her first time doing it since the incident from middle school. On her way, she is kidnapped by the men that beat the driver. While she loses consciousness, she sees Kagenu approaching. Later, Akane wakes up tied in some warehouse. The kidnapper tells her that the daughter of Nishino Zaibatsu shouldn't walk alone at night. The other kidnapper tells her that she just needs to stay there, and once they get the ransom, she will be freed. Outside, Kagenu observes the kidnapper and changes clothes and puts on a mask. The kidnapper wants to have some fun with Akane and notes that this should be her second kidnapping and that the first time was some stalker. Kagenu then comes down from the roof window, saying he is a stylish ruffian slayer. The kidnapper pulls out a gun, but Kagenu throws a piece of glass, injuring his arm and disarming him. He then charges the guy and throws him to the ground and smashes his face. The other kidnapper sees that Kagenu isn't an ordinary man and states he was bored doing those kidnappings with amateurs. He notes he is former military and takes out a knife and attacks Kagenu. Using crowbars, Kagenu manages to disarm the man, but still gets overwhelmed. He then decides to get serious and show him the potential he found in crowbars as he fought bikers. The man then realizes he is Balaclava Berserker, a man who has been fighting the bikers with crowbars. Kagenu notes that the bikers started wearing helmets, so he had to stop using the crowbars like tonfa and instead use them as regular clubs. Kagenu then proceeds and breaks the man's leg and beats him up. Kagenu then frees Akane and tells her to be more careful next time. Akane then calls the police and her father uses his connections to make the case not go public. Next day, Akane goes to school. She sees Kagenu and greets him and he greets her back, calling her Nishino. She is ready to correct him, but realizes he got her name right and this time feels he is looking at her. She then felt he is also living a life behind a mask. The next morning, the news report that Minoru Kagenu got hit by a truck and didn't survive. Kagenu doesn't remember since when, but he always dreamed of being a hero. He spent his days training. While at school, he was a background character. He reached a point where he can beat up some guys, but when surrounded by armed men, he doesn't stand a chance. If he becomes the best martial artist in the world, he may be able to beat those men too, but he still won't be able to do anything about a missile. Kagenu wants to overcome those limits. After being hit by a truck, Kagenu is reborn in a new world. He forms an organization and with his squad, they are about to start an operation. He also had obtained a new power, magic. Kagenu wants to be the one who operates from the shadows, showing everyone their greatness. The Eminence in Shadow. Alpha reports to Sid, telling him that everything he said is true and that she found mentions in ancient texts of what they believed is Cult of Diablos. After dying in a car incident, Minoru Kagenu gets reborn as the son of Baron Kagenu, an aristocrat living out in the boonies. He quickly understands the situation and feels there is magic in the air. The Kagenu family has been making dark knights who can enhance their abilities using magic. The family has big hopes for Claire Kagenu, Sid's older sister, who is quite talented. Sid grows up staying as a background character and doesn't draw any attention to him. However, at night he comes out and fight bandits. Using his slime sword, he easily kills the bandits and takes their gold and treasures. He also finds a cage with some rotting creature, realizing it's possessed and that it's magical overloaded. He takes interest in it and takes it home, where he shoots it with magic and do other experiments on it. After a month, he finally manages to contain the magical overload. The creature then returns to its normal form, a young, beautiful elf. Wondering what to do, Sid decides to put on an act. As the elf awakens, Sid states he broke her curse that has been put on Hero's descendants. He shows her a fiction book about 3 heroes who defeated Diablos and tells her it's actually a true story, and in his dying breath, the demon put a curse on them. He then explains that the cult of Diablos are plotting to revive the demon. While most people had forgotten about Diablos, Sid works in the shadows to stop the cult. He introduces himself as Shadow, he who lurks in the shadow and hunts shadows. Sid asks her if she would join him, and having lost everything, she agrees and explains they need to find more Hero's descendants and expand their organization. Sid agrees and names their organization Shadow Garden and the girl, Alpha. 3 years pass and Sid is now 13 years old. He practices with his sister, and while he can defeat her easily, he acts weak and lets her defeat him. Claire is now 15 years old, and at that age, the nobles start attending the Midgar Academy for Dark Knights. On the day Claire had to departure for the academy, she disappeared and her room is a mess. In those 3 years, Alpha had collected more members for their organization. Sid asks Beta where is Alpha, and Beta explains she is looking for clue to finding Claire. Beta explains that Claire is likely still alive and was kidnapped by a high-ranking member belonging to the cult of Diablos. The cult probably believes that Claire is one of the hero's descendants. Beta takes out a map and states they have few known hideouts, but don't know in which one they keep Claire. Sid makes a slime knife and throws it at the map. He ends up missing the hideout, but states they will find his sister there. Beta then figures out that the cryptograms are a bluff and there is actually a secret hideout at the location pointed by Sid. He then tells her to contact the 7 Shadows. At the hideout, Viscount Grease is holding Claire chained with magic sealing chains. He comments her father taught her good on how to fight, but Claire explains she learned all by fighting her brother. Grease then asks if he healed her when she showed signs of possession, but Claire denies it, stating there is no way he can heal her. Grease notes that for just in case, they need to look into her brother too. In that moment, Claire breaks one of the chains and injures her right arm to free herself, telling him she will kill him if they touch her brother. Grease then knocks her out, and a man comes informing him that there are intruders. Grease's men are easily cut to pieces by the 7 Shadows. Facing them, Alpha states they are Shadow Garden and their mission is to annihilate the cult of Diablos. Grease wonders how they know that name and its secrets. He attacks Alpha, but she has no troubles blocking his attacks and injures him, stating she won't kill him until they get answers from him. Seeing he is overwhelmed, Grease takes a pill that boosts his magic. He manages to push away Alpha and then breaks the floor and runs away. Alpha tells the girls there is no need to chase him as Shadow is after him, which is why they split up. Meanwhile, Shadow is lost and doesn't know where the girls went. While walking around the tunnels, he encounters Grease. He attacks Shadow, who easily blocks his attack. Shadow then notes that he has more magic power than Alpha, but doesn't know how to use it. He decides to give him some lessons and blocks his attacks. As he is done, Shadow then attacks Grease and starts cutting him, causing Grease to wonder if he ever was that overwhelmed in battle before. Grease tells him no matter how strong he is, the darkness in the world is much deeper, but Shadow states he will just dive deeper. Grease takes more pills and buffs himself even more, wanting to show Shadow that people are worthless, fragile, and powerless. Shadow manages to block his attacks, and then using large amount of magic, he cuts down Grease. As Grease falls, he notes he was powerless against the darkness, but maybe not Shadow. The next day, Claire returns home in a bad mood. Her wounds heal overnight and she departures for the academy. Sid is eager to go to the academy himself, but is fine as he has 2 more years and needs to give the girls some work. However, Alpha tells him it's time they leave him, which leaves him shocked.
Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and press the bell so as not to miss new videos. Bye everyone.